The distal convoluted tubule does a little bit of reabsorption. Some more water gets collected and kept in the body, about 10 to 15%. A little bit more sodium and chloride gets reabsorbed. But what it's really known for is it is the major target in the kidney for parathyroid hormone. So we have to revisit what parathyroid hormone is all about. Well, parathyroid hormone is produced when your calcium levels are low in the bloodstream. So if your calcium levels begin to decline in your bloodstream, your parathyroid gland, which if you recall is inside the thyroid gland, which is found in your neck. Parathyroid hormone does a number of things. One is it stimulates osteoclasts to break down bone and release calcium into the blood. It also tells the kidney, specifically at the distal convoluted tubules, to retain calcium in the body. Keep calcium in the bloodstream by reabsorbing it out of the nephron tubule into the blood. So it all depends on your calcium levels, whether you have parathyroid hormone secretion or not. But if you do, it's retaining calcium by reabsorption at the distal convoluted tubule. The collecting duct is the last part of the nephron where we can do reabsorption and secretion. It's kind of making the final adjustments to what's in the tubule. It's going to reabsorb water, but based on whether we need to or not. So if we're dehydrated, your body is going to be synthesizing antidiuretic hormone, ADH. And we've already done that hormone. It's produced by your hypothalamus in response to dehydration. It's transported to your posterior pituitary gland and then secreted into the bloodstream. So recall, ADH does three things. One, it decreases sweating when you're dehydrated. Two, it vasoconstricts blood vessels to keep your blood pressure up. And three is it targets the collecting duct to retain water. And we're going to look at a separate slide focusing in on ADH, but you've heard of ADH before in the past. Now we just have to look closer at how it works at the collecting duct. Aldosterone targets the collecting duct. So we have to revisit what aldosterone does. If you recall, aldosterone retains sodium, so it's going to stimulate more sodium reabsorption. It also can stimulate secretion of potassium. So if we have high potassium, aldosterone helps us eliminate potassium. We're going to reabsorb bicarbonate at the collecting duct to help maintain our buffer. We're going to reabsorb urea. Now this is a tricky concept because urea is a metabolic waste, but we actually use urea in the kidney. We keep some of it in the kidney, which we'll talk about later. Secretion of potassium dependent upon diet. So if you consume a lot of potassium, your kidney is going to eliminate potassium. If you don't consume a lot of potassium, it won't. And then it also helps secrete hydrogen ions, again, to maintain pH. So you'll notice your collecting duct is the target of two hormones, ADH and aldosterone, and it's very important in regulating pH because it is the major region to reabsorb bicarbonate and eliminate hydrogen ions. Okay, let's look at how ADH works. But we're going to first look at what happens when you don't need ADH. So this picture is a drawing of a nephron when you are fully hydrated. Let's say you just drank a bunch of water. You're fully hydrated, maybe too hydrated. Maybe we need to get rid of more water because you drank excessive amounts of water. What's going to happen, in order to get rid of some of this water, we need to make the tubule impermeable to water. So that helps keep water in the tubule. And if you keep water in the tubule and the collecting duct, more water gets eliminated in your urine. And we call that dilute urine. Dilute urine is that really, really clear urine when you're fully hydrated. But what I want to do is just give you this picture, but more importantly, when we look at ADH, see how it works. But the key concept here is that the collecting duct is impermeable to water. It is not letting water leave the collecting duct. It's keeping water in the collecting duct. And therefore, your urine is dilute. So dilute urine is the urine you produce when the body is fully hydrated, aka a low osmolarity. The ascending limb is permeable to solutes, but impermeable to water. So water stays in the tubule. And the collecting duct is kept impermeable due to low ADH. So this situation is when you're fully hydrated and low ADH production. Compare this picture to the next slide. This slide, and there's a lot going on here, so I really want to just focus you on the collecting duct. So if you look at the collecting duct, what we've done is we've told the collecting duct to produce little pores called aquaporin 2. Aquaporin 2 are water channels. And that's going to help pull water out of the collecting duct and keep it in the body. All right, so what's happening here is you are dehydrated. Let's start up here. You're dehydrated, that's the stimulus. Your hypothalamus detects that you're dehydrated. It uses osmoreceptors. If you're dehydrated, it produces ADH, it transports it to the posterior pituitary inside little neurons. There are neurons that extend from the hypothalamus to the posterior pituitary. Posterior pituitary releases ADH into the bloodstream. ADH goes to the collecting ducts. ADH stimulates the principal cells of the collecting duct. Those are just certain cells that can make these aquaporin channels. Aquaporin channels are inserted into the collecting duct and allows water to be reabsorbed. Now the question is, why does water move that way? Well, water moves that way because there's a high osmolarity in the renal pyramids. High osmolarity means very, very salty. These numbers here represent the osmolarity deep down in the renal pyramids. So all you got to do is open up channels and water's going to want to go there because water follows high solute. One thing that helps keep that solute really high is urea. So urea is a waste, yes, but we also use it. We use it to make this osmolarity really high. We also use sodium and chloride, but that all helps contribute to being able to pull water out of the collecting duct when you are dehydrated. If you pull water out of the collecting duct, your urine is going to be very, very concentrated. That's that urine that you can see when you in the toilet is really, really gold. And that means you're dehydrated. And that means your body's producing ADH and your kidneys are doing its best to retain water in the body. So we need to understand the difference between dilute and concentrated urine, and most importantly, understanding how ADH plays a role in producing this concentrated urine. But basically, concentrated urine is the result of keeping water in the body. This is a really good summary of all the little stuff that we've done. I'm not going to go through this because I think you can go through this, but this is a summary of everything we've just done. We've basically looked at the renal corpuscle and what occurs there. We've looked at the proximal convoluted tubule. We've looked at the loop of Henle, or nephron loop. We've looked at the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct. Your book talks about early distal and late distal. I just make this distal convoluted tubule and this collecting duct. It makes it a little easier. But when you're going over this summary figure, this is what I want you to look at, these bullet points. And this is largely what we do in class. We review